U.S.A. San Antonio, the city in the USA located in the south of the state of Texas. Administrative center of the District of Bear. San Antonio is the second largest city of Texas, after Houston, and the seventh in USA. 1,532,233 million people as of. Center of the industry and tourism. In San Antonio there is a Fortress of Alamo, a symbol of founding of independence of Texas. A popular vacation spot at tourists, 3 million which annually arrives in the city, the embankment of San Antonio located on the river of the same name. The city was called in honor of Saint Anthony, about whom Day of Remembrance is celebrated on June 13, in day when the Spanish expedition landed on the territory of modern San Antonio in 1691. The city is one of the centers of culture of technical año and one of the popular directions of tourism in Texas. It is possible to distinguish the Fortress of Alamo, the embankment of San Antonio, River Theater from sites Arneson, the historic district of La Villette, a survey tower of to America. History. The Indian tribe initially lived in the valley of the river of San Antonio and near San Pedro Springs. They called the area of Unadwan, that in translation means the refreshing waters. In 1691 a group of the Spanish researchers and missionaries left to the river and came across the Indian settlement. There was it on June 13, in day of remembrance of Saint Anthony Paduansky, therefore the new area and the river Spaniards called San Antonio. The history of the Spanish settlement of San Antonio began with an expedition led by Martinum de Alarcanum which based San Antonio's mission, de Valero. Today Alamo. They intended to approve the Spanish superiority in the territory of Texas, being afraid of military expansion of the French monarchy which possessed the nearby state of Louisiana. Antonio de San Buenaventura y Olivares, incited by the priest, the king's deputy, directed the main forces to fight against illegal trade from Louisiana. Also he supported Franciscan missions in Texas. In 1709 the Father Olivares visited the area near the river of San Antonio. Since then he had a firm intention to found a mission and a civil settlement on the place. At the end of 1716 the deputy of the king gave official permission to creation of a mission and construction of fortress which would be between other Spanish settlements halfway. Martin de Alarcon, the governor of Coahuila and Texas, was appointed responsible. Numerous delays which reason partially were disagreements between Alarcon and Olivares led to the fact that construction was finished only in 1718. Families were settled around fortress and the mission laid the foundation for the city of Villa de Bear, which had to become the main center in the Spanish Texas. On May 1 the governor founded San Antonio's mission on the river of San Antonio de Valero, later known under the name Alamo, and San Antonio's Fort de Bear, Bear in modern Spanish spelling. Located on the west bank of the river of San Antonio at distance about 2 kilometers from San Antonio's mission, de Valero was based on May 5, 1718. On February 14, 1719 the Marquis of San Miguel de Aguayo provided to the Spanish king the plan for resettlement to the Spanish Texas of 400 families living on the Canary Islands in the province of Galicia and the Spanish colony Havana. His plan was approved and 200 families of inhabitants of the Canary Islands, received the instruction to be prepared for resettlement. Later Council Indy suggested to transport 400 families from the Canary Islands to Texas through Havana and Veracruz. In June 1730, 25 families arrived to Cuba, and 10 families were already transported to Veracruz before the order came from Spain to stop resettlement of people. On March 9, 1731, the group of immigrants under leadership of Juan Leal Gorres reached San Antonio's Fort de Bahia. During the travel, new families were started, and in the settlement there arrived 15 families in number of 56 people. A joint military garrison which existed in this territory since 1719, and founded the civil settlement of San Fernando de Bahia, having created the first constant civil government in the state of Texas subsequently. History of several oldest families of San Antonio originates to the first Canary immigrants. Maria Rosa Padron became the first child in family of colonists immigrants from the Canary Islands which was born in San Antonio. During the Mexican invasion on southwest lands which lasted nearly 100 years, Juan Leal Gorres became a considerable historical figure. It self-willingly proclaimed about card square came of the earth which were stretched along 6 states, the Mexican territory, and controlled them within 30 years. Among 6 states, Leal Gorres chose the city of San Antonio as the capital and a symbol of the updated Mexican expansion in America. The reliable military base promoted expansion of the Mexican possession further on the north to San Francisco, California. 90% of the territory of the state underwent assimilation and considerable influence of Mexico during the Western Campaign 1833-1851. Full bankruptcy forced Juan Leal Gorres' army to return to Mexico, where he launched civil war with the next states. San Antonio expanded and became the biggest Spanish settlement in Texas. Throughout almost all the history he was the capital Spanish, and after the Mexican province of Texas. From San Antonio on border with the USA, it was possible to reach the small town of Nacogdoches on Camino Real Road, at the moment Nacogdoches Road. After, at the initiative of Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna, the Constitution of the United Mexican States of 1824 was repealed. In many states of Mexico, Massachusetts, protests which were suppressed by force began. In a number of battles of the Texas Army, it was succeeded to force out the Mexican troops from settlements which were to the east from San Antonio. In December 1835, at Bijar's defense divisions of the Texas Army under Ben Millam's command exempted San Antonio from troops headed by the General Martin Prefecto de Cosam, who was a son-in-law Santa Anna. In the spring of 1836, Santa Anna went hiking to San Antonio. The volunteer army under James Clinton Neal's command occupied the left mission and strengthened the positions there. After Neal left garrison, troops under William Barrett Travis and James Bowie's joint command remained to protect a mission. The Battle of Alamo lasted from February 23 to March 6, 1836. Strength of the opponent many times over outnumbered the Texas Army. Finally it was broken, and all defenders of Fortress of Alamo were killed. They were brought to the level of the martyrs, who died for freedom of Texas, and the words, "Remember Alamo," became a war call in the Texas Army, which won a victory over Army Santa Anna subsequently. The organizer of Group of the Mexicano Texas. Technical Año. Patriots once Egan was involved in fight at Concepcion, in Baja's defense and in fight at San Jacinto, and also had powers of the mayor of San Antonio. In 1842 he was forced to leave the post because of continuous threats from newcomers of sectarians and political opponents. After the following technical annual will hold the mayor's post only in 150 years. In 1845 the United States of America made the decision on accession of Texas. It became the reason of the American-Mexican War. Though the USA won a victory, the military campaign strongly shook welfare of San Antonio. At the end of war the population of the city was reduced to almost by 2/3, to 800 inhabitants. Gradually migrants and immigrants began to fill the city, and prior to Civil War by 1860, people lived in San Antonio. After Civil War of San Antonio prospered as the center of livestock production. All this period it remained a boundary city, but because of merge of various cultures of San Antonio received reputation of the exotic city. The designer of the Central Park in New York, Frederick Law Olmsted, traveled around southern and southernmost parts of the USA, and in a book about Texas described San Antonio as the city in which mixture of races, styles in clothes, languages and buildings is observed. In the strange and old-fashioned allegory, he could compete only with New Orleans. In 1877 to San Antonio the first railroad was stretched. It meant that it wasn't just boundary city anymore, and began to become attached to lifestyle of all American society more and stronger. In the big cities of the state of Texas, such as San Antonio, Dallas and Fort Worth, railway transport developed absolutely in a different way in comparison with development of the railroad in port cities of eastern states of the USA. At the beginning of the 20th century, for construction of tramways and satisfaction of new needs of car traffic for the central part of the city, streets were expanded. In the course of this modernization, the city lost many historical buildings. As well as in other municipalities in the southwest of the USA. Since the end of the 20th century in San Antonio, continuous increase in population is observed. In 35 years the population grew almost twice, from 650,000 people, according to data of a population census of 1970, to 1.3 million people in 2010. There was it owing to natural increase of the population and accession of lands. They last considerably increased the area of the territory of the city. According to data of a population census of 2010, 72.6% of white, 6.9% black are the Afro-Americans, 0.9% of Aboriginals of the USA and Alaska, 2.4% of Asians, 0.1% of inhabitants of Hawaii and islands of the Pacific Ocean lived in San Antonio, 13.7 inhabitants had other race, 4% had two or more races. 63.2% of inhabitants had the Latin American origin. Geographical coordinates of the city: 29.5 c. Highway on 98.5 oval of San Antonio. It is located at distance of 120 km to the southwest from Austin, the capital of the state of Texas, 305 km to the west from Houston, and 402 km to the southwest from a metropolis Dallas/Fort Worth. According to these bureaus of an United States Census, in 2018 the total area of the city was 1,205.66 km, from which 1,193.98 km belonged to the land and 11.68 km, 0.97%, are occupied with water. This city is located in a zone of a tectonic plate Balkans escarpment at the height of 198 m above sea level. The main source of drinking water in the city is Edwards Aquifer. Victor Bronick Lake and Calaveras Lake, created in 1962 and 1969 respectively, are one of the first in the country reservoirs which are used for cooling of power plants by means of the processed purified sewage and help to reduce consumption of the groundwater necessary for generation of the electric power. Climate of San Antonio. It is characteristic damp subtropical. In classification of climates of Köppen, Sieca. Climate with transition to roast steppe. The summer long with very hot and damp weather, and winter rather soft and cool. At night sometimes happens cold, owing to penetration of cold air masses from the north. In the fall and in the spring rather warm and rainy weather prevails. Annually temperature falls to San Antonio below zero on average about 10 times at night. As a rule, so-called winter rainfall in the form of sleet or a drizzle drops out. Accumulation of rainfall or loss of snow is seldom observed. According to National Weather Service of the USA, for the last 122 years in the city only 31 cases of loss of snow, on average once in 4 years, were recorded. In 1985 in the city the record quantity of snow, about 41 cs, 16 inches, dropped out. San Antonio and New Braunfels are one of the most flood-prone regions in the territory of North America. In October 1998, the floods in the central part of Texas caused by the Hurricane Madeline became the most destructive in the history of the U.S.A. They claimed the lives of 32 people and caused damage for $750 million. During the period from June 30 to July 7, 2002 in San Antonio, 890 mm of rainfall in the form of a rain. Therefore the large-scale flood which claimed the lives of 12 people began dropped out. Last time a tornado fell upon the city in October 2011, though it occurs very seldom. Tornadoes of Category F are observed in a radius of 80 km from the city on average once each 5 years. Twice, in 1953 and 1973, of San Antonio was exposed to Category F tornado blows. As a result of a tornado of 1953, 2 persons died and 15 people received injuries of various weight. July and August in San Antonio are the hottest months with an average temperature of 35 C. Though according to values of the index of temperature and humidity in July-August not so hot as in June. In 2009 the value of this index reached 51 C. The most high temperature of 44 C was recorded on September 5, 2000. On average coldest month January is. The lowest temperature of 17.8 C was registered on January 31, 1949. In May, June and October a large amount of rainfall drops out. Since in 1871 began to fix meteorological data, in the city about 820 mm of rainfall a year, with the maximum indicator of 1328 mm and minimum minus 256.8 mm a year on average will drop out. Sunshine makes 2,629.2 hours in a year. 59% of a maximum. Population. According to statistical data for 1,532,233 persons lived in San Antonio, that is 15.43% more than an indicator of the last population census. According to Bureau of an United States Census in 2010, 1,327,407 people lived in the city, that is 16% more than in 2000. Thus, San Antonio became the second most populated city in the state of Texas, after Houston, and the seventh in whole country. The number of the population which is carried out in 2011 showed that San Antonio's agglomeration, New Braunfeld, which bordered 8 districts and in the territory of which 2,194,927 people live, takes the third place by the number of inhabitants among agglomerations in the state of Texas. After agglomeration of Dallas-Fort Worth and agglomeration Big Houston, and the 24th place over the country. In the northeast, agglomeration borders on agglomeration Austin, Round Rock, San Marcos, and on the urbanized area which have formed 2 agglomerations. More than 4.1 million people live. The racial structure of the population of the city according to data of a population census of 2010 looked so: 72.6% white Americans, white non-Latin American nationalities 26.6%, 6.9% Afro-Americans, 0.9% indigenous people of the U.S.A. 4% Americans of Asian origin, 0.1% Hawaiians and nationalities of the Pacific region, 3.4% representatives of the mixed races, 13.7% other people. Besides, 63.2% of the population of the city were made by the representatives of any races having the Spanish or Latin American roots. According to Bureau of an United States Census in 2000, 1,144,646 people lived in the city. Thus, San Antonio took the 9th place on population among the largest cities of the country. Owing to rather low population density in the city and the insignificant number of the people living in the mother country, agglomeration took only the 30th place over the country with the population in 1,592,383 people. In San Antonio there are 405,474 households and 280,993 families. Population density makes 1,084.4 persons on 1 square km. 2808. 5 people on 1 square mile. In the city, 433,122 units of housing stock are located at the average density of building 410.3 units on 1 square km. 1,062.7 on 1 square mile. Average age of inhabitants is 32 years. 48% of the population of a male, 52% women's. 93.5 men are the share of 100 women. 18 years or 100 women more senior, 89.7 men are necessary. The average indicator of income on a household in the city is $36214 US, an average income on $753,100 US. Men on average receive $30061 US, and the women -$24444 US. Income per capita in the city reaches an indicator of $17487 US. About 17.3% of the population and 14.0% of families are below the poverty line. 24.3% of total number of the population aged up to 18 years and 13.5% aged from 65 or also more senior live below the poverty line. According to a population census of 2005-2007 of 64.3% of residents of San Antonio referred themselves to Caucasian race, 6.6% to Negroid race. Representatives of Asian race make 2% of the population of the city, 0.6% are made by indigenous Americans and so forth. In total, 61% of the population carried themselves to Latin Americans. We developed diversified economy generating $82 billion of GDP and taking on this indicator the 4th place among agglomerations of the state of Texas and the 38th place generally over the country is characteristic of San Antonio. Primary branches: military industrial complex, oil refinery, financial services, public institutions, healthcare and tourism. For the last 20 years in San Antonio, considerable development was gained by national call centers and also the enterprises of the branch of automobile mechanical engineering. In 10 miles to the northwest from the central business part of the city, South Texas Medical Center, which part various hospitals and polyclinics, research centers and higher educational institutions is located. In San Antonio, the set of the enterprises of military industrial complex and several large military bases is concentrated. Defense industry, in which more than residents are involved, brings to city economy $5.25 billion a year. Annually 20 million tourists visit San Antonio and its sites, among which the main are Alamo and the embankment of San Antonio. Every year in only one conference center, Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center, there take place more than 300 various actions and events which visit about car delegates from around the world. 940,000 residents are engaged in the tourist industry. According to data of researches of influence on economy which are conducted each 2 years by Council for Tourism of San Antonio together with research group under the direction of Drive. Richard Butler and Drive. Mary Steffel of Trinity University. The tourism contribution to local economy makes about $10.7 billion. Thanks to the tourist industry, the city of San Antonio and other municipal public authorities gain revenue in a type of tax on hotels and motels, a tax on sale and also other income from hotel business and holding various actions. According to the research conducted in 2004, this figure exceeded $160 million. From 140 American companies which are included into the list of rating of Fortune 500 in San Antonio, the headquarters of 5 companies is located. Valero Energy Corporation, Tesoro Petroleum Corporation, U.S.A., Clear Channel Communications and Nuster Energy. The office of the H.E.B. Company, which takes the 19th place in the list of the largest private companies in Shaw, is also located in San Antonio. Among other companies having the headquarters in the city, it should be noted: Kinetic Concepts, Frost National Bank, Hartanks, Eye Care Centers of America, Bill Miller Barabee Enterprises, Taco Cabana, Whataburger, Rackspace, Newtek, and CareNet Healthcare Services. In San Antonio, there are regional representative offices of such large companies as Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company, Coles, Allstate, Chase Bank, Phillips, Wells Fargo, Toyota, Medtronic, Cisco, Caterpillar Inc. AT&T, West Corporation, Citigroup, Boeing, Kiwi and Lockheed Martin. During the period from 1997 to March 11, 1998, the main offices of some large companies stopped the activity in San Antonio. In 1997, Titan Holdings and U.S.A. Communications sold the operations to larger companies. After the company from Los Angeles specializing in the sector of corporate purchases redeemed and sold a controlling stake of the Builders Square Company, it stopped the activity in San Antonio. Sites: San Antonio, the popular vacation spot among tourists. Riverwalk embankment was stretched along the central part of the city. It is one of the first well-planned water objects within the city. Along the embankment numerous shops, bars, restaurants and Arneson River Theater were located. In the period of Christmas and New Year's holidays the embankment lights up in 1 million bright fires, and in the summer, especially during the celebration of Fiesta Noche del Rio, she is filled with music, sounds and style and a flamenco. On the embankment there is recently restored Aztec on the River, which remained in Texas the only movie theater issued in exotic style. San Antonio has all rights to be considered as the birthplace of the hot, fragrant, burning stewed dish which received the name chili. Americans got acquainted with them in 1893 when at the World Fair in Chicago devoted to the 400th anniversary of discovery of America, San Antonio was presented by Chili Stand. Chili is still popular not only in San Antonio. In the city the Frito and Cheeto chips and also the juicy David Pace's sauce also for the first time appeared. The Fortress of Alamo, located in the downtown, is the main historical attraction of the state of Texas. It became the place of heroic defense and death of the Texas insurgents in 1836. Because fortress is in the territory of the city, San Antonio often called City of Alamo. Riverwalk embankment is the second the most visited city site. The SeaWorld Aquapark, which is in 26 km, 16 miles to the west from the downtown around Westover Hills, closes top 3. The Six Flags Fiesta Texas theme park is also popular among tourists. The amusement park of Morgan's Wonderland is intended for children with special needs. In the central part of the city there is San Fernando's Majestic Theater, movie theater, Cathedral, the Hemisphere Park, in the territory of which the Tower of America and the building of library and the Museum U.S.A.'s Institute of Texan Cultures is located. The area of La Vilita, the historical market square of El Mercado, the palace of the Spanish governor and the building of ancient Hotel Menger Hotel. To the north from the Alamo complex, near Emily Morgan Hotel, there is a museum of a cavalry of the city of San Antonio in which various exhibits connected with cavalry history are presented. The museum is often visited by the locals specializing in reconstruction of historical battles. It's second in the list of the oldest hotels of the city. Fairmount Hotel, constructed in 1906, is recorded in the Guinness Book of Records as the heaviest building ever moved entirely. In 1985 the hotel was moved on distance in 3/4 to the south from the Fortress of Alamo. All operation took 4 days. The budget of the project made $. In the business district of the city, the Catholic Church of St. Joseph, which is so-called house nail, that is, the building standing obviously in the place, not put strange, and natural for itself, is located. In the mid-40s, the Joskies Corporation later became division of River Center Corporation. Decided to build a huge mall on this place, but church and its parishioners unanimously flatly refused to move and sell the land on which stand. T building. It forced corporation to construct the complex, having surrounded with his walls church almost closely from free parties. Therefore soon the church got the nickname street among locals. Joskes. St. Duskies. In San Antonio there is McNay Art Museum, the first museum of modern art opened in the state of Texas. Among other sites it is necessary to mention Art School, the Southwest School of Art, Woodlawn Movie Theater, the Zoo San Antonio, the Japanese Tea Gardens of San Antonio, the Brackenridge Park, the remained fortresses of Missions in National Historical Park of Missions in San Antonio, the Museum Museo Alameda, Museum of Art of San Antonio, the Museum Witt Museum, the Museum Texas Rangers Museum, the Museum Buckhorn Museum. Art Place Contemporary Art Center, the Museum Blue Star Contemporary Art Center, SeaWorld San Antonio Aqua Park, Theme Park of Entertainment Six Flags Fiesta Texas, Transport Museum of Texas Transportation Museum and Splashtown San Antonio Aqua Park. All the year-round visitors of the city can touch Cowboys culture in shopping center North Star Mall. It is possible to see the 12-meter sculpture representing pair of Cowboys boots. In San Antonio, tourists can not only go sightseeing and enjoy music sounds, but also visit a set of cozy restaurants and try dishes of Texas Mexican cuisine well known around the world. In the menu of mostly Mexican restaurants, which are scattered practically on all city, rather inexpensive dishes. Among the most known institutions it should be noted Jacala Restaurant on West Avenue Street in the central part of the region of Northwest Side, La Hacienda de los Barrios Restaurant around Northeast Side, 3 restaurants of Tommy's network. One of which is on Nugalito Street about Federal I-35 highway near the central part of the city. And Los Barrios Restaurant near a northern part of the city. Basketball. The San Antonio Spurs Club, acting in the National Basketball Association, is the only professional team of the highest level, most of which have residents of San Antonio supports. In the past the team held games at Hemisphere Arena Stadium in the beginning, and then in the Sports Alamo Dome complex, which was constructed for holding matches on the American soccer. But in 2002 the team moved to the Sports SB Center Arena, later renamed in At&T, built on money of team and public funds. Ice hockey. At&T is also the home arena for the Rampede San Antonio Club, acting in the American Hockey League, and San Antonio Silver Stars from Women's National Basketball Association. Both teams belong to San Antonio Spurs Club. It's San Antonio Missions team, which is division of the professional Padres San Diego baseball team, acts in the lowest League A and plays home games at the Nelson Wolff Stadium located in the western part of the city. San Antonio, the biggest city in the country in which there is no baseball team acting in the highest league or in League AAA. Annually in December, the National Association of Student Sport plays in the city a playoffs American soccer match for Alamo Ball Cup. Gaelic soccer. At the beginning of 2011 in San Antonio there was a club of the same name playing in the Gaelic Soccer in League of Texas with the teams from Austin, Dallas and Houston. The season lasts from April till end of August, and every year during weekend before the Labor Day the team participates in a tournament which is held by a North American office. Gaelic Athletic Association. The club also possesses 2 San Patricios and I.C. teams competing among themselves. which take part in matches of public league which takes place in the fall. Rugby. In San Antonio rugby clubs, Alamo City and San Antonio are based. There are also university teams at the Saint University of Maria and the University of Texas of San Antonio. Teams of both universities compete in the 3rd Division of Texas managed by the Texas Rugby Union, and are basic rivals both in the city and in the division. American soccer. In the University of Texas of San Antonio there are only university teams in the city known under the name U.S.A. Roadrunners, which participate in competitions of the First League of National Association of Student Sport in different types of sport. Not so long ago at the university there was a team on the American soccer which head coach is Larry Cocker, the former team coach of the University of Miami. Roadrunner began to play in a season of 2011 which was finished with result 4-6. The team also set records on attendance. The first game was attended by 5,673 people, an average attendance of matches in the first season made 35521 fans for a game. Since 2012 the club participates in games of the Western Sports Conference, having acquired the right to act in the First League most quicker than other teams in the history of student soccer. Every year in the city at Alamodome Stadium there takes place the All-Star Game on the American soccer among the soccer teams of the higher school on a Cup of United States Army which is broadcast live on NBC channel. 90 best players participate in a match of teams of the West against the East. Stars of NFL of Reggie Bush, Vince Young, Adrian Peterson and many others participated in a match. The city also accepts annually the Cup of Valero Alamo Bowl which is played between Big 12 and Pac-12 on the Alamodome Arena. Municipal authorities of San Antonio work on creation in the city of the professional team in National Football League long ago. 3 house games which were held at Alamodome Stadium by the Saints team showed that the city is able to support professional football club NFL. The former president of NFL of Paul Tagliabue said that in San Antonio there are all conditions for holding trainings and matches and therefore the city will be included in the list of candidates for obtaining the command at the following expansion of NFL. In the past clubs Dallas Cowboys and Houston Oilers carried out to San Antonio collecting before a season. Subsequently, the city signed a contract with club Dallas Cowboys according to whose conditions the team has to train in San Antonio for all 2011. The owner of the team of Jerry Jones supported the aspiration of the city to have the professional team in NFL, though it is the second large city in the USA, after Los Angeles, in which there is no professional soccer team in NFL. The smaller number of the inhabitants living in agglomeration is a probable cause of absence in San Antonio of the teams acting in NFL. Elbio Bernano. European soccer. In 2010 in the city there was the first professional soccer team, San Antonio Scorpions, which plays in North American Football League. The club began to play in a season of 2012 and plays matches at Toyota Field Stadium. Wrestling. During an exit to a ring the star of View of Shawn Michaels, a real name Michael Shawn Hickenbottom, was declared the representative of the city of San Antonio. Bodies of authority and management. In San Antonio the system of city self-government council, the city managing director, works. The city is divided into 10 polling precincts for the purpose of uniform distribution of the population for vote. In each district, one person who represents him in city council is elected. The mayor is elected by city vote. All members of city council, including the mayor, are elected for 2 years and can't be elected more than for 4 terms. The exception is made by those which received the powers in November 2008. They can be elected only for 2 terms. In the cities of Houston and Laredo, there are same restrictions in terms of office, as well as in San Antonio. Under laws of the state of Texas, during elections of the mayor and members of city council, party accessory of candidates isn't specified in bulletins. Members of council receive $20 for each meeting, and the annual salary of the mayor is $400. In addition to administrative activity, most of members of council have other jobs on a constant basis. Now Julian Castro holds a post of the mayor of San Antonio. Council employs the city managing director who exercises daily control of the city. Council performs functions of legislature while the city managing director performs functions of the chief executive and bears responsibility for management of the city and for implementation of acts of council. At the moment, Cheryl Scully is the city managing director. The CPS Energy Company finding in municipal property provides services on electro and to gas supply of the city. San Antonio Police Department is responsible for safety and law and order in the city. San Antonio Fire Department performs functions of city fire and rescue health service. Strategy of development for the city. Unlike the majority of the large cities of the USA, around San Antonio several country towns which have no system of self-government are located. According to the law of the state of Texas, exterritorial jurisdiction of San Antonio extend to the majority of nearby lands which don't belong to any municipality. The city authorities have the right to plan construction of the main highways and to establish and fix borders of the land plots. The city continues to conduct aggressive policy of accession of territories and interferes with creation of bodies self-government in territories of other cities getting under his exterritorial jurisdiction. About 3/4 of the modern square of San Antonio were attached to the city during the period since 1960. During the period from 2000 to 2010, the city attached to the territory several long narrow grounds along the main highways, passing along the outskirts to simplify the subsequent accession of the expanding areas which are along routes. By 2009, the city planned to attach even more than 100 square km, 40 square miles of the earth. In May 2010, the city authorities of San Antonio agreed to transfer of thousands of acres of the earth along Federal I-10 highway which are under their exterritorial jurisdiction, to the city of Schertz. According to the contract, Schertz transferred in total 14.11 square km acres of the earth to the north from I-10. These lands to which exterritorial jurisdiction extends border on the road of local purpose of FM 1518 in the west, Lower Segan Road in the north, Cibola Creek in the east and I-10 in the south. In not municipal territories of the District of Becker, compulsory accession of lands is a controversial issue. Inhabitants whom suburban areas initially attracted with lower taxes and the affordable prices of the real estate often perceive now accession of lands as the mechanism of increase in tax rates for the real estate, which first of all are caused by school, but not municipal taxes. They consider that increase in taxes isn't followed by the corresponding improvements of work of fire and police service, while the city considers the policy of accession as a necessary condition of city economic prosperity. The Texas Office of Criminal Justice manages offices 4 of regional government on parole in San Antonio Metro Parole Complex. Regional offices I and 3 are located in Metro Parole Complex. Office 2 is in other place. In San Antonio there is a regional office of the Texas Office of the United States Department of Transportation. The main post office of San Antonio is under control of United States Postal Service. Other post offices are located across all San Antonio. Education. In 31 higher educational institutions San Antonio about card students study. University of Texas Health Science Center at San Antonio, University of Texas at San Antonio, Texas A&M University San Antonio and Alamo Community College District belong to the state universities. The biggest university in San Antonio, University of Texas at San Antonio. In the city there are several private universities, among which there is Trinity University, St. Mary S. University, Our Lady of the Lake University, University of the Incarnate Word, Baptist University of the Americas, and Wayland Baptist University. The network of public libraries of San Antonio serves students of all universities and also pupils from 19 school districts located in borders of the District of Becker and San Antonio. In the city more than 30 private and charter schools, among which Central Catholic Marianist High School, Incarnate Word High School, St. Mary S. Hall, the Atonement Academy, Antonian College Preparatory High School, San Antonio Academy, Holy Cross High School, Providence High School, the Carver Academy, Keystone School, TME is the Episcopal School of Texas, Street Function. Anthony Catholic High School, Lutheran High School of San Antonio and Harmony Science Academy. In San Antonio the Center of Initial General Military Training of the United States Air Force is located. The only training center of this kind intended for recruits is at the disposal of the Air Force. The 737th Group of Preparation in Military and Air Base Lakeland. Besides the camp on education and training of the military personnel, which is located in the territory of the Military Medical Fort Complex, Sam Houston carries out training of medical personnel for United States Army according to 30 various programs. Every year from walls of the largest in the world of medical education center about 24000 experts are issued. Transport. The bus of the Viaduct Company stopped at the intersection in the central business part of San Antonio. The International Airport of San Antonio, SAT, is located around uptown, a distance about 13 km from the central part of San Antonio. The airport has 2 terminals which service 21 airlines along 44 various routes, including 6 routes to Mexico. The auxiliary airport Stinson Municipal Airport is at distance of 10 km to the south from the downtown. The flight field consists of 2 runways. In the territory of the airport, the Texas Air Museum is located. Public transport. The transport system of the city, which includes bus transportations, is under control of management of Viaduct Metropolitan Transit City Transport. The monthly full ticket of Big Pass, which grants the right for unlimited number of trips in Viaduct system vehicles, costs $35. In December 2012, Viaduct began to transport by high-speed buses along a route of Viaduct Primo from the central part of San Antonio in the direction of the Medical Center, South Texas Medical Center, and the main campus of the University of Texas of San Antonio. In August 2010, Viaduct Metropolitan Transit brought to routes new generation of buses with hybrid diesel electricity power plants. On high-speed routes of Viaduct, 30 hybrid buses making daily transportations of passengers across all city ply. This line of buses appeared on city roads after, in May 2010, new vehicles using liquefied natural gas were brought to routes. In the fall of 2010, a Viaduct ordered 3 new buses which work at electricity from the batteries which are built in the vehicle. These buses go along a route in the downtown, and they are the first profitable vehicles which aren't emitting exhaust gases. In management of Viaduct, there are 89 regular bus routes and 2 tram routes in the downtown. Among company services, high-speed routes from the downtown to parkings in regions of South Side, West Side, Northwest Side, North Central Side and Northeast Side, and also to the U.S.A. University, Six Flags Fiesta Texas Theme Park and SeaWorld Aquapark. During the important events which are taking place in the city, for example games of basketball team of San Antonio Spurs or city parades, Viaduct organizes special flights which are made from the parking OV centers. Viaduct possesses one of the longest routes of local appointment in America. Extent of routes 550 clockwise and 551 counterclockwise is about 77 km in one party. The National Railway Passenger Company Amtrak makes daily transportations of passengers by train of Texas Eagle from the railway station San Antonio Amtrak Station to the railway station Union Station in Chicago. 3 times a week in every one direction through San Antonio there passes the signature train Sunset Limited, which plies along a route Los Angeles, Orlando, Florida. As a result of Hurricane Katrina consequences, the route is reduced to New Orleans. Texas Eagle route between San Antonio and Los Angeles is a part of a route of Sunset Limited. The old building of the railway station of Sunset Station, which belongs to the Viaduct organization at the moment, is the entertaining platform and is near the new railway station and the Sports Alamodome complex. The route from San Antonio to Corpus Christi is served by the Union Pacific Railroad Company. In the past, from 1913 to 1956, this direction was in management of the company San Antonio, Uvalde and Gulf Railroad. In 1956 SA&G it was absorbed by the Missouri Pacific Railroad Company, which then became a component of Union Pacific. After in 2008 in Phoenix the city electric train began to function, San Antonio became the largest American city in which there is no internal city system of passenger train traffic. The Orbital Star project provides creation of railway communication between San Antonio and Austin. Bicycle paths. In San Antonio about 219 km. 136 miles of bicycle strips, routes and bicycle paths are equipped. Bicycle routes on the cross-country terrain pass along the river of San Antonio, artificial green plantings and city parks. In spite of the fact that the majority of these roads aren't connected among themselves, progress in creation of city infrastructure, favorable for cyclists, was confirmed with League of Cyclists of America, which appropriated San Antonio, the bronze level of the settlement, convenient for driving a bicycle. Bicycle rental. On June 17, 2010, the City Council approved the plan of work of transport service of a new type, bicycle rental. It was initially planned that available transport service there will be 140 bicycles placed in the central node and 14 rental centers. Can use services of this service both locals and city visitors. The San Antonio Bike Share non-profit organization was created for monitoring of conditions of providing this service, which on the place level will be organized and supported by Bike World. The bicycle program, similar to that which exists in Denver, will serve the system of bicycle rental. This system began work in March 2011. Convenience to pedestrians. According to the research conducted in 2011 by the company WalkScore, San Antonio takes the 40th place in the list of 50 largest cities of America, by criterion of pedestrian availability to the majority of household and social objects in the places of residence. In San Antonio there is the only large newspaper, San Antonio Express News, which is issued in the city since 1865. Robert Rivard, being at present the executive vice president and the editor of the newspaper, was appointed by the editor-in-chief in 1994, and in 1997 received a post of the editor-in-chief of the edition. At the moment, Express News is considered the largest newspaper in the southern part of the state of Texas. The Hearst Corporation, which possessed the second-largest newspaper, San Antonio Light, in 1992 acquired the Express News newspaper from the News Corporation Company and closed the Light newspaper after unsuccessful attempt to find on her the buyer. Under the Express News trademark, the Hearst Corporation publishes the Weekly Connection, in which exclusively Spanish-speaking employees who cover the events happening in the Latin American community work. The weekly free, alternative newspaper San Antonio Current covers political news, events in cultural and public life of the city, provides responses and opinions on local restaurants, and gives descriptions of the forthcoming events in cultural and club life of the city. In addition to it, San Antonio Business Journal covers the main news in the business world. The bilingual edition La Prensa has a long story in the city. San Antonio River Walk Current, the weekly newspaper about important events and the famous people of San Antonio. In San Antonio, about 50 radio stations carry out broadcasting, 30 of which are in the city. Here the headquarters of Clear Channel Communications, the largest broadcasting holding in the U.S.A., is located. The leading news radio station of U.S.A. company is considered one of the best in the country. KSAM-550 became the first radio station which began the broadcasting to territories of the southern part of Texas in 1922. Some of the best-known leading local talk shows on radio KSAM-550 are Jack Riccardi, Trey Ware and Richie Ware. In the city it is possible to hear 3 radio stations which treat network of National Public Broadcasting and Texas Public Radio belong. KETSX 89. 1 FM broadcasts in a news format / Capac, 24 hours in day transfers classical pieces of music, and air of the KC 90.1 station, which is broadcast in the territory of the central western part of Texas in the district of Hill County, combines various talk shows, programs of news and classical music in the program. The Texas radio station also transfers a dramatized program of Riverwalk Jazz, in which the local Jim Cullum Jazz Band group acting in the Landing Club around Riverwalk since 1963 participates. The non-profit radio station Curtu 91.7 broadcasts from walls of the Trinity University. Unlike other university radio stations of the country, it transfers 17 hours in day of composition in style jazz, and at night in style college fate / On air of alternative radio station XM 90.1 FM, which belongs to the Alamo Community College District Organization. Students from San Antonio College work. Also, as well as Curtu radio station, it transfers non-commercial music in the Third Coast Music Network program in the afternoon and alternative music at night. Most the Latin American radio stations transfer compositions of performers in regional styles and the directions of the Mexican music in style of technical and/or modern pop music. On January 12, 2006, the Core FM, Local 95.1 radio station belonging to the telecommunication company Univision changed the format. Instead of the modern vigorous Latin American hits format, the radio station began to broadcast the Latin American compositions popular in 1980-1990 and was renamed into Ricardo 95.1. On November 10, 2006, Univision declared that it changes a format of Coto 97.7 radio station from technical and for a reggaeton, in attempt to anew acquaint residents of San Antonio with this style of music. Soon, the format of radio station 97.7 was changed to Fate. The radio station doesn't broadcast compositions in English anymore, and, still being in possession of Univision, Linkin Park tells pieces of music by such performers as, for example, after a year of work in a format popular 80 and 90, the Core FM radio station was back renamed into Local, and its format changed on Modern Hits. The same year, but a little earlier, the Coto 95.1 radio station changed the owner and began to broadcast in one format. Technical and with Acacac's 107.5 radio station. In recent years, broadcasting in San Antonio becomes more and more various, owing to strong influence of the Latin Americans who arrived to San Antonio from other regions. In the majority, it is natives of east coast of the USA who serve on the numerous military bases located in the city, and also immigrants from Mexico. In this regard, in San Antonio, as well as in all other territory of the country, the companies which possess radio stations change broadcasting formats under the influence of changes of a demographic situation. Television. In spite of the fact that the territory of the city and agglomeration differ in rather big sizes, the market of television services in San Antonio was never considered as large. According to data of the market research conducted by the Nielsen Company, at the moment he takes the 36th place in the U.S.A. For comparison, in two other cities in the state of Texas, Houston and Dallas, which population makes more than 1 million people, the market of television services is included into 10 the first in countries. The fact that the territory of nearby suburban and rural areas doesn't exceed the size of the territory of the city is the main reason. Besides, in a case with San Antonio, the close arrangement of Austin reduces potential market size. In San Antonio, the following television channels are broadcast. WO, the 4th channel. NBC. U.S.A, the 12th channel. KENS, the 5th channel. CAB, the 29th channel. Fox Broadcasting Company. KAX, the 2nd channel. KAMES, the 35th channel 35. And KURN, the 9th channel. In the city broadcast 6 Spanish-language TV channels, 3 religious channels, 3 independent channels and 1 channel of internet television. 210 TV. The share of cable television in the market of television services in San Antonio makes 65%. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.